This one's gonna fire you up. There was a law passed by Congress that would help wire fraud scammers. Now, if they didn't mean to pass this law, why don't they just change it? Now, with all the scams going on out there with text messages and emails, I'm sure you get a lot of them. You need to watch the rest of this video and protect yourself. Check it out.
The latest Scam U looking at new sophisticated schemes to get consumers to wire money out of their accounts. Our consumer correspondent Becky Worley has details on how it's done and how to protect yourself. Good morning, Becky.
Eva, good morning. It's so maddening. Criminals impersonating banks using the threat of, get this, scams to trick people who are just trying to do the right thing. What's so frustrating, if this type of scam involves wire transfers, it's nearly impossible to get the money back due to a law that was written back in the 1970s.
Courtney Black says she received a text message appearing to be from her bank, Chase.
I got a text message that said, "Did you authorize a wire transfer?" I texted back no. 2 minutes later, I get a phone call from a 1-800 number, and I answered it.
She says the caller identified himself as a Chase employee, and he would help her cancel the fraudulent transfer.
I don't understand how all these scammers can text our phone anyway. Shouldn't the government be able to crack down on this and stop it?
He told me, "You need to enter this account number," because that's the account it was going to. Section by section, he was telling me how to do it.
Black says she saw all the money in her accounts disappear, but that the scammer promised this was all a part of the wire reversal process.
The next morning, I kind of got like a gut feeling something wasn't right. And I called Chase and they were like, "No, you were scammed."
First, I want to give her a shout out, man, for just coming on TV. That's got to be very hard to do. Like, her money is gone. And now here she is appearing on TV and saying, I got scammed, right? I fell for this trick. So shout out to her, because her doing this is making more people aware that this happens all the time. And my biggest fear is senior citizens and people like that who maybe don't text and aren't as familiar with it. This stuff happens all the time, and it's really very sad.
In the end, she says she lost more than $11,000. Black says the scammer knew her date of birth, the last 4 digits of her social security number, her Chase account number, and her balance.
There's a lot of information that is on the dark web.
Scott Augenbaum, a former FBI agent, says stolen passwords and usernames from other website data breaches could be how Courtney's account was compromised.
The cyber criminals are banking on the fact that 66% of the population is using the same password from mission-critical platforms.
He says that hacked user data can be used to log into other website accounts if the same usernames and passwords are reused.
66% of people use the same password. I have to admit, I used to do the same thing. But listen, if you have an iPhone, it'll give you a different password for every bank account and website, and it'll save it across all devices. It saves to your iCloud. Make sure you use this feature. And if you have an Android phone, I don't know, do whatever you do.
To fight this, some banks send you a code anytime a transfer of money is initiated. And he says that's what the scammers targeting Courtney were after. And she gave them the code. But many advocates say there should be more safeguards. The Electronic Funds Transfer Act and the Truth in Lending Act protect certain types of money transfers, but not all.
If a consumer disputes it with the bank or the creditor, then they have to investigate, and if they determine it's unauthorized, they reimburse the consumer. But there's a huge loophole for wire transfers. Those are excluded.
Sanchez Adams says she and the National Consumer Law Center have advocated for Congress to change these laws.
And it just seems so crazy to me that all of these transactions that are not wires are protected by federal law, and wires are not protected.
Why would that be? First of all, these banks and just about everybody online wants all of your personal information, right? You have to give it to them, your phone number, your email address, depending if it's a bank or not, the last 4 of your social security number, all this information. They gather it, then they actually sell it to other people, and then people break into the system and steal your information, and they are not held accountable for any of it. They might give you access to a free credit check for the next year or so, but that's about it. Let's see what happens.
For now, Chase has denied Black's claims, telling GMA these types of scams are heartbreaking, and we urge all consumers to ignore phone, text, or internet requests for money or access to their computer or bank accounts. Legitimate companies won't make these requests, but scammers will.
And I can kind of see Chase's point of view here too, because they can't be on the hook for every single person that does this, right? I'm sure this happens all the time, every day. I know they go out of their way to tell you, hey, people aren't going to ask you for money. We're not going to reach out to you and ask you for these personal information, yet people still get scammed. So I can see their point of view, and they can't make every single person that got scammed whole. However, Congress should be changing this law. This is another one of those no-brainer laws I like to talk about. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Let's come together and change this law to help people out.
Now, it does seem illogical that credit card, debit card, and home equity transfers are protected, but wire transfers aren't. That said, Chase says the best way for consumers to protect themselves is to never share account information or those one-time passwords or codes, never click on suspicious links, or grant anyone remote access to your phone or computer. Also, my advice, if you do one thing to protect yourself today, make sure your financial and banking apps all have unique passwords. Now, it's hard to keep track of those, so download a password manager like LastPass to help you keep track of them. It is a lot of work to protect yourselves, guys, but gosh, these stories are heartbreaking.
Sure is. Always protect yourself and don't respond to those texts and emails if you're not sure who they're from. Call the bank and verify it yourself. Here's another video that's going to get you fired up and you won't believe it. Click here and I'll see you in this video.